The sun of Solaris Prime burned like a great jewel above the imperial palace. Its golden light passed through crystal walls and filled the throne hall with a warm glow. The Empress of Solaris sat upon her high seat, surrounded by her advisors and guards. The room was filled with movement and sound as alien nobles discussed trade, defense, and the expansion of their empire. It was a normal morning in the capital of one of the strongest star nations in the galaxy. At the edge of the throne room stood Ryan, the only human among the royal guards. His armor was dark silver, shaped for function more than beauty. Around him, tall alien guards moved with silent grace, their glowing eyes scanning every movement. To them, Ryan was strange, a short and simple creature from a primitive world. But the Empress had chosen to keep one human in her service after witnessing the courage of his people in a past war. Many found that decision foolish, yet none dared to question her openly. Ryan stood still, watching the Empress as she listened to a report from the Minister of Energy. The Empress's face was calm, her pale silver eyes fixed on the glowing screen before her. Her robe shimmered like liquid light, and every movement she made carried grace and authority. Then something changed. The Empress's hand froze in midair. The energy screen flickered and dimmed. Her eyes became distant as if she was seeing something no one else could. The room fell silent. Every advisor turned toward her. The Minister of Energy stopped speaking. "Your Majesty," one of the counselors said, his voice trembling slightly. "Are you unwell?" The Empress did not answer. She sat still, her breathing slow and shallow. The royal physician, a tall alien with long silver tendrils, stepped forward and scanned her with a small device. "Her pulse is steady," he said, "but there is strange activity in her neural pattern. It is as if her mind has disconnected." Panic began to grow among the advisors. They whispered to one another, their voices rising in fear. "It must be an attack," one said. "Maybe the rebels have used a mind weapon." "No," another answered. "She could be trapped in a dreamlink malfunction. The Empress must be protected. Shut down all external signals." Orders filled the air as the guards moved to secure the room, but Ryan remained still. He watched her closely. Something in her face caught his attention. Her eyes were not empty. They were focused, intense, like someone fighting a battle that no one else could see. Ryan's instincts told him this was not poison or a machine error. He had seen similar looks before. During the Terran Wars, soldiers sometimes froze after long battles. Their minds had not broken. They were reliving something in their heads, something only they could see. He stepped closer to the throne, his eyes studying every small detail. The other guards watched him carefully, but he did not stop. "Stay back, human," one of them warned. "You are not authorized." Ryan ignored the threat. He knelt beside the Empress and looked at her breathing pattern. It was slow but steady. Her fingers twitched slightly, repeating the same motion again and again. He noticed that each twitch followed a rhythm, almost like a code. "She is not in shock," he said quietly. The physician turned toward him, his eyes narrowing. "What do you mean, human?" "You are no expert in neural states." Ryan's voice stayed calm. "On my world, when soldiers faced trauma, their minds created barriers. Sometimes they looked frozen like this, but inside they were fighting. Her eyes show focus, not emptiness. She is seeing something we cannot." The advisors scoffed. "Ridiculous," said one. "You humans still use simple drugs and metal tools. This is beyond your knowledge." Ryan met his gaze. "Maybe, but I know how people look when they are dying, and she is not dying." The room grew tense. The chief advisor, a tall alien with golden skin, stepped forward. "We cannot take advice from a primitive guard. Remove him." Before the guards could move, the Empress made a faint sound. It was not a word, more like a breath drawn with effort. Everyone froze. Her hand rose slightly and then fell again. Ryan leaned closer. "She is responding. You are frightening her." The physician checked the monitor again. "Her neural activity is increasing rapidly. Something is interfering with her thought link." Ryan stood up and looked at the glowing cables that connected to the Empress's throne. The Solaris rulers used these to connect directly with the Imperial network, a web of thought and data that linked every major system. If something invaded that link, it could attack the Empress's mind directly. "Cut the connection," Ryan said. The advisors gasped. "Are you insane?" One shouted. "If we disconnect her link, her consciousness could scatter." Ryan shook his head. "If something inside that link is attacking her, keeping it connected will kill her faster. You have to trust me." No one listened. They continued to argue, their voices overlapping in panic. The Empress sat unmoving as her pulse began to rise. The monitors beeped faster. Rian took a step back and thought quickly. He could not override the court systems, but he could use his guard authority to trigger a safety field. He pressed a control on his wrist plate. A soft energy field formed around the Empress, blocking outside transmissions for a few seconds. The monitors flickered and went blank. "What did you do?" the chief advisor shouted. "Stop the signal," Ryan said. "Just for a moment." The physician looked at the monitors again and blinked. Her pulse is stabilizing. The room fell silent. The advisors looked at one another, unsure what to say. After a few seconds, the Empress took a deep breath. Her hand gripped the armrest tightly. Her eyes moved again, slow but focused. Then she fell still once more, as if she was listening to something deep within herself. Ryan lowered his wrist plate. He could tell she was still fighting something, but the danger had lessened. "She is regaining control," he said. The physician frowned. How could a simple disruption cause that? Ryan looked around the room. "Sometimes a simple act can break a strong chain," the advisors whispered in confusion. None of them wanted to admit that the human guard's decision had helped. They blamed him for interfering with royal systems. The chief advisor ordered the security logs reviewed and demanded Ryan's suspension until the Empress recovered. But before they could move him, a voice echoed softly through the hall. "Leave him." Every head turned toward the throne. The Empress was awake. Her voice was faint but steady. The advisors fell to their knees at once. The physician bowed deeply. Rian stayed where he was, watching her carefully. Her eyes met his, and for a moment there was silence between them. "You saw it," she said slowly. "You understood," Ryan nodded once. "I saw that you were fighting, not failing." She smiled weakly. "The link was poisoned. Someone tried to reach me through it. You stopped them in time." The advisors were shocked. None had expected such words. The chief advisor spoke quickly. "Your Majesty, who would dare such a thing?" "We must investigate at once," the Empress raised a hand. "You will do nothing until I command. The attack came from inside our systems. It was not from outside rebels." Her gaze turned toward the advisors, sharp and cold. "One of you allowed this to happen." The hall grew silent again. Rand could feel the tension rise like heat in the air. The Empress slowly stood from her throne, her robe trailing behind her like liquid silver. She turned to Rian. "You will stay by my side. You saw what others did not. You acted when logic failed." Ryan bowed his head. "As you command, Majesty." The Empress stepped forward, her presence filling the hall with quiet power. The advisors lowered their eyes, afraid to meet her gaze. "From this moment," she said, "the human will remain my personal guard. No one will question his place here. The Empire needs eyes that see beyond data and machines." The court remained silent, but inside every advisor's mind a storm was brewing. They could not believe the Empress would place so much trust in a human, yet none dared to challenge her word. As the guards reformed around her, Ryan stood tall beside the throne. His expression stayed calm, but his mind was alert. He knew this was only the beginning. Someone inside the palace had tried to harm the Empress. Whoever it was would try again. Outside the palace, the sun of Solaris Prime continued to shine upon the endless cities of glass and light. Yet beneath that brightness, shadows began to move. In hidden chambers and secret networks, unknown forces whispered of the human guard who had interfered with the royal systems. To them, Ryan was not a hero. He was a threat. But for the Empress, he had become something rare in her world of power and deceit. He was the only one who had seen the truth when others panicked, and for that she would trust him above all. The golden light of the palace dimmed as the day ended. The Empress returned to her private chamber, and Ryan stood outside her door, silent and alert. He felt the weight of the task ahead. The Empire was vast and full of secrets, but he would not fail her. Night fell over the shining capital of Solaris Prime. The twin moons rose above the palace towers, and their light touched the glass walls like silver fire. The Empress rested in her chamber, surrounded by quiet machines that watched her vital signs. The attack on her mind had left her weak, but her spirit remained strong. She had ruled the Empire for years and had faced wars, rebellions, and treachery. Yet this was different. This was silent and unseen. A battle fought not in space, but inside her own thoughts. Outside her chamber stood Ryan, the human guard. He wore his armor but had removed his helmet. His brown hair was damp with sweat from hours of watch. His eyes scanned every movement in the corridor. He knew the danger had not passed. Whoever had attacked the Empress once could try again. Inside the command center of the palace, the advisors argued once more. The chief advisor, known as Varen, stood at the head of the table. His golden skin glowed under the soft blue light. Around him sat ministers, generals, and the royal physician. "We must tighten all security links," Varen said. "The humans' interference may have helped the Empress recover, but it has also shown our weakness. If word spreads that our network can be attacked from within, other powers will strike." The physician nodded. "I have analyzed the data. The attack came through the neural link, but the signal pattern does not match any known rebel code. It was complex, hidden inside the Empress's own mental connection." Another advisor spoke. "Then it could only come from someone with high access." Varen's expression darkened. "Exactly. Which means one of us." The room grew tense. No one spoke for several seconds. They all knew the Empress's warning had truth. Betrayal was hiding among them. Meanwhile, Ryan stayed outside, unaware of their meeting but alert to every sound. His instincts told him that something around the Empress still felt wrong. The air itself seemed heavy. He had been trained to feel danger long before it showed itself. That instinct had saved his life many times. The door to the chamber opened. A soft light spilled into the corridor as the Empress's personal attendant, a gentle alien woman named Nira, stepped out. "The Empress wishes to see you, Ryan," she said. Ryan entered quietly. The chamber was large but calm. The walls shimmered with flowing light like living water. The Empress sat beside a wide window, her robe a mix of silver and deep blue. Her eyes were clearer than before but carried a shadow of fatigue. "You stayed awake the whole time," she said softly. Ryan bowed slightly. "My duty does not rest while you recover, Majesty." She smiled faintly. "You are unlike the others. You saw what they could not. Tell me, how did you know what to do?" Ryan hesitated before answering. "On my world, I saw soldiers fall into states where their bodies froze but their minds kept fighting." "You had that same look. I only followed instinct." The Empress studied him with interest. "Instinct. That is something our people often ignore. We rely too much on machines and logic." She stood and walked slowly to the center of the room. "You were right about the attack. The parasite that entered my mind was not from outside. It was born inside our own system, hidden in the network that only the High Council uses. Someone wanted to control me, to turn me into their puppet." Ryan frowned. "You think it is one of your advisors?" "I know it," she said firmly. "But proof is hard to find. The code erased itself the moment you cut the signal. Whoever did it planned carefully." She turned toward him, her silver eyes shining. "I will need your help, Ryan. Not as a guard, but as someone who can think outside their logic. You see with human eyes, not machine eyes. That may be the key to finding the truth." Ryan straightened. "I will do whatever you ask, Majesty." "Then watch them," she said. "Do not let them know you are investigating. Listen, observe, and trust your instincts. We will find the traitor together." Ryan nodded. He left the chamber with renewed focus. The task was dangerous. He was only a guard among powerful beings who could erase him with a single command. But he had faced worse odds before. The next morning, the palace returned to routine, though the atmosphere remained tense. Rumors of the Empress's sudden illness spread through the city. Some said she was cursed by the gods. Others whispered that she had been betrayed. Ryan ignored the gossip and kept to his new mission. He began by observing the advisors during council meetings. The Empress had returned to her throne, her strength slowly returning. She acted calm, hiding her suspicion, but her eyes scanned each of her advisors carefully. Ryan stood behind her throne, silent and watchful. Varen spoke with his usual authority, giving reports about security. The physician presented medical scans. The other ministers discussed trade and defense. But Ryan noticed small details others ignored. When Varen spoke of closing the external gates, his fingers tapped a certain rhythm on the table. When another advisor, Laren, mentioned the mine network, her pupils contracted as if hiding fear. The physician avoided looking directly at the Empress each time she asked about the neural data. Ryan kept these observations to himself. After the meeting ended, he followed Laren at a distance. She left the council chamber and entered a side corridor that led to the communication hub. Ryan moved silently, using his guard authority to bypass the sensors. He stopped behind a tall pillar and listened. Laren was speaking softly to someone through a data link. "No," she recovered. "The interference broke the process. We must find another way. Her tone was sharp and urgent. Rian's eyes narrowed. He recorded the sound through his armor's memory chip. When she ended the call, she looked around quickly but did not notice him. That night, Rian reported quietly to the Empress. She listened carefully as he repeated what he had heard. So it is true, she said. The attack was planned and it is not over. Rian asked, should we arrest her? The Empress shook her head. Not yet. We need to know who she was speaking to. If we act too soon, the real leader behind this will vanish. She walked to the window again. The stars outside shone like cold diamonds. Do you ever miss your home, Rian? She asked suddenly. He hesitated. Sometimes. It was simpler there. People fought for survival, not power. Perhaps that is why I trust you, she said softly. Humans may lack our technology, but your hearts are clear. You act from feeling, not calculation. That can be dangerous, but also powerful. Rian looked at her. You trust me because I have nothing to gain, she smiled. Exactly. The next few days passed with quiet tension. Rian continued his silent watch. He noticed that the palace systems began to act strangely again. Lights flickered. The data walls froze for seconds. It was the same pattern he had seen before the Empress's collapse. Someone was testing the network again. He went to the control center and checked the signal logs. Most of the guards ignored him, thinking a human would not understand their systems. But Rian had learned much by watching them work. He saw one signal that repeated every night at the same time, coming from the private quarters of the advisors. He copied the data and brought it to the Empress. She examined it and her expression darkened. That signal should not exist. It bypasses royal encryption. Whoever is sending it has hidden access, Rian said. Then they are inside the palace. Yes, she replied. And they are watching us. She turned to him with sudden decision. We cannot use the palace systems anymore. They are corrupted. We will communicate through old methods. What methods? He asked. She smiled faintly. Human ones. Paper, voice, and memory. From that moment, they worked in secret. The Empress wrote short notes by hand, sealed them with wax, and passed them to Rian. He carried them hidden inside his armor to trusted officers who had no access to the network. Days turned into nights as they built a quiet circle of loyalty. The traitor, unaware of their change, continued to watch the digital feeds but found nothing new. One evening, Rian followed another signal that led deep beneath the palace to the old data core, a place abandoned after the new network was built. The halls were cold and filled with silent machines. He moved carefully, his light shining across ancient cables and dust-covered panels. At the center, he found a device still active, pulsing with faint blue light. Someone had connected a hidden transmitter there. He scanned it quickly. The design was alien but mixed with older human tech. That shocked him. It meant whoever was behind the attack had used human knowledge as part of their plan. He turned off the device and took the memory core with him. As he left the chamber, he felt the air shift. A shadow moved behind him. A voice spoke from the darkness. You should not have come here, human. Rian spun, his hand on his sidearm. A tall figure stepped from the shadows, face hidden under a hood. The voice was cold and familiar. Varen, Rian said. The advisor smiled thinly. You were clever to find this place. But cleverness will not save you. The Empress must be replaced for the good of the Empire. She is too human now, too weak. Rian aimed his weapon. You tried to kill her. You call that good? She would have destroyed centuries of order, Varen said. And you, little human, have become her shield. That is your mistake. Rian fired, but Varen's armor shield flared and deflected the shot. The advisor moved faster than expected, striking with a pulse blade. Rian dodged and rolled, pulling a small flash charge from his belt. He threw it to the ground. Light exploded across the chamber. When the light faded, Varen was gone. Only the echo of his voice remained. You cannot stop what has begun. The palace of Solaris Prime was quiet in the early hours. Only the distant hum of energy shields and the soft flicker of light panels disturbed the silence. Yet beneath the calm, tension had thickened like a storm cloud. Rian stood at the edge of the throne hall, observing every movement of the advisors. Each of them had returned to their duties, but he could feel their minds shifting, plotting, hiding secrets. The Empress moved gracefully along the balcony overlooking the city. Her silver robe flowed with her steps. Even in recovery, she carried the authority of a ruler who had survived an unseen enemy. Her eyes scanned the horizon, but her mind was focused inward. tracing the patterns of thought that had been attacked. "You understand now, Ryan," she said, her voice calm, yet firm. "The danger is not only in the network. It is inside the palace, inside our people." Ryan nodded. "I have seen enough to know they are hiding something. Someone is planning another attack. We cannot wait for them to act." She turned to him. "Then we must be ready. I will stay in my chamber and strengthen my mind, but you will patrol and watch. Use every human skill you have. Instinct, attention, trust in what you see. The traitor cannot hide from you completely." Rian left her side and began moving through the corridors. He watched the palace staff, the advisors, and even the servants. Every shadow, every pause in movement, he noted. While others trusted devices to detect danger, he relied on what his eyes, ears, and instincts told him. During a midday meeting, the Empress convened her advisors once more. They did not yet know she was aware of the hidden attack. The Empress listened carefully to their reports, her gaze steady. "Security protocols are running normally," the chief advisor, Varen, reported. "All signals are monitored. No anomalies detected." Ryan noticed a flicker in Varen's posture. His shoulders tightened, and his golden eyes avoided direct contact with the Empress. That small sign confirmed what Ryan suspected. Varen had something to hide. The physician presented a new medical update. "The Empress is recovering well. Neural stability is increasing. There is no further danger from the previous incident." Ryan knew this report would make the advisors feel safe, yet the human mind could sense the danger that machines could not. Someone had infiltrated the network. That someone would try again if given the chance. After the meeting, Ryan followed subtle signals he noticed in the palace's energy flows. A faint pulse traced along the ancient corridors leading beneath the palace. These halls were abandoned and only rarely used. Old maintenance bots scuttled across the floors, but their sensors could not detect someone moving silently like Ryan. He reached a doorway hidden behind layers of polished metal. The human guard crouched low and listened. Inside, he could hear soft sounds, the clicking of data devices being handled with care. Someone was working in secrecy. Rian waited until the sound paused, then slipped inside. The room was small, filled with blinking lights and wires. At the center stood a machine connected to the palace neural network. It pulsed faintly, sending signals to unknown locations. The human guard approached carefully. He examined the device and recognized the style. It was alien technology, but the way the circuits were arranged showed human influence. Someone had mixed old human design with alien systems to hide the attack. Suddenly a voice called out, "You should not have come here." Ryan spun around. From the shadows stepped Varen. The chief advisor's face was partially hidden under a hood. His pulse blade gleamed faintly in the dim light. "You were clever to find this," Varen said calmly. "But cleverness will not save you. The Empress must fall for the good of the Empire. She is too human now. She does not follow tradition. Her mind is too free." Ryan raised his weapon. "You tried to harm her. That is not good. That is betrayal." Varen smiled. "You think in terms of right and wrong, human. We think in terms of order. You cannot see the balance. She would have destroyed the centuries of structure we maintain. That is why you interfere." Varen lunged. Ryan reacted instantly. He dodged the pulse blade and fired a non-lethal stun shot. The weapon hit the shield around Varen, deflecting with a blue flash. Ryan rolled behind a console and activated a small flash charge. Light and smoke filled the room. When the light dimmed, Varen had vanished. Only faint sparks lingered on the wires where his blade had struck. Ryan checked the neural transmitter. He removed its memory core and stored it safely. Whoever had tried to control the Empress had left traces, and now he had proof. Returning to the Empress, Ryan presented the core. "He was here. He escaped, but we have the evidence now." The Empress examined it carefully. Her eyes glowed softly as she studied the signals. "Yes, it is him. The one who tried to control my mind. We now know who is behind the attacks." Ryan nodded. "Do we confront him directly?" The Empress shook her head. "Not yet. Varen will not act openly. He is careful. We must be cautious. Knowledge is our advantage. Patience is our weapon." Over the next days, Rian observed the palace more closely than ever. Every movement, every whisper, every glance became part of his record. He noticed patterns others overlooked. Varen had begun sending coded messages at night, hidden in routine palace operations. Another advisor, Laren, was trying to manipulate palace bots to gather information secretly. Ryan shared what he found with the Empress in private. She nodded, approving his observations. You see the danger clearly. You think like a human, but your mind understands strategy beyond machines. That is why I trust you. They began to work together quietly. The Empress used old methods to communicate with trusted allies. She wrote notes by hand and passed them to Rian. He memorized codes and carried them secretly to officers loyal to her. The palace network was too dangerous to use. Every digital signal could be monitored by the traitor. One night, Ryan moved through the palace again. The halls were silent, lit only by faint energy panels. He followed the hidden pattern and found a secondary network hub, long abandoned by the new council. Inside, he discovered multiple hidden devices still active. Each one pulsed with faint energy, connected to different points of the palace system. He carefully disconnected each device and stored the cores. Then he felt a shift in the air. Shadows moved along the walls. A figure appeared, silent but imposing. You are clever, human, the voice said. But you cannot stop what is already in motion. Ryan recognized it immediately. Farron stepped forward, pulse blade ready. His hood covered his face, but his golden eyes glinted with malice. You followed the signals, Farron said. You know too much. I cannot allow that. Ryan raised his weapon, prepared to fight. The Empress will not fall. You cannot control her, Farron struck first. Ryan dodged and rolled, firing another non-lethal shot. Farron's shield flared, absorbing the energy. They circled the room, moving with speed and precision. Rian saw an opening and struck a nearby control panel. Sparks flew, creating a small barrier of light and smoke. Using the distraction, he grabbed the largest memory core and prepared to retreat. You cannot escape me, Farron hissed. I am not alone, Ryan said, his voice steady. The Empress is with me. Her people are with me. Farron hesitated, realizing that even though Rian was only one human, his loyalty and determination made him more dangerous than any weapon. Rian left the hub and returned to the Empress. He handed her the cores. Everything he used to attack you is here. Now we know his methods and his reach. The Empress studied the devices and nodded. We will rebuild the system. Every corrupted link must be removed. But now we can see the true enemy. Veron is clever, but he is not invincible. Together we will protect the Empire. Rian bowed. He will not harm you again, Majesty. She smiled faintly. We must remain vigilant. But you have proven that even in a world full of logic and machines, a human heart can see what others cannot. You are more valuable than any network, Rian. Outside the palace, the twin moons of Solaris cast long shadows. The city sparkled like a sea of light, unaware that its ruler had survived a hidden attack by someone from within. The battle had not ended, but the first victory had been won. The human guard had discovered the truth, and the Empress's mind was safe once more. For the first time, the palace understood that strength was not only in technology or wisdom, but also in courage, loyalty, and instinct. And Rian, the simple human, had become the one who could see the hidden war that no one else could. The invisible force that had been slowly draining the Empress's energy had grown stronger. Its subtle touch was now sharper, its presence more insistent. The Council of Advisors had reached a point of near panic. They bickered endlessly, each blaming the other for not acting fast enough. Vorn insisted that their calculations must be wrong. Sela worried aloud about the Empress's fragile state. Talek barked orders to test every security system, but nothing could detect the invisible enemy. Their fear made them slower, clumsier, and more predictable. Finn, however, did not falter. His human instincts had never felt this challenge before, but he had long trained his mind to notice what others could not. He understood that the invisible force fed on hesitation, confusion, and fear. The council was providing it all freely. Finn stepped closer to the Empress, placing himself between her and the empty air that pulsed with energy she could not see. His eyes scanned every corner of the room, every flicker in the light, every subtle distortion in the air. He could feel the force's presence, its rhythm, and its intent. Stay close, Your Majesty, Finn whispered, his hand brushing hers briefly. It will try to isolate you from everyone else. I will not let it. The Empress nodded, though her strength wavered. She trusted Finn completely. The invisible threat was something no advisor could understand, something beyond their centuries of experience. Only Finn's human courage, perception, and intuition could confront it. Finn began to act. He moved small energy-detecting devices into place around the Empress, subtle enough not to alarm the advisors. These devices pulsed faint protective signals, forming a shield against the subtle drain. He activated them one by one, watching for changes in the Empress's aura. With each device in place, the force's rhythm faltered slightly, showing that it was sensitive to human intervention. Finn realized that the entity could be weakened, but it would require direct confrontation. The council noticed his actions and grew anxious. "What are you doing, Finn?" Scylla asked, alarmed. "Do you know what this could do?" "I know enough to protect the Empress," Finn replied calmly. "We do not have time for debate. You must focus on supporting her, not arguing." Talek growled but could not argue effectively against the human's certainty. The Empress leaned slightly on Finn as he moved to position a final device. She whispered, "It tests us, Finn. It studies us, our fear and hesitation. You see it? And that is why it fears you more than anyone else here." Finn acknowledged her with a nod. He could feel the subtle shift in the force's energy as it reacted to his presence. It was intelligent, careful, and aggressive in small ways. It would strike if it sensed weakness, but it had underestimated the human guard's awareness. Suddenly, a dark flicker appeared near the corner of the hall. The invisible entity had partially manifested. It looked like a shadowy swirl of energy, constantly changing shape, its movements unpredictable yet deliberate. The council gasped and backed away, startled by its appearance. The Empress took a small step backward, her face pale. Finn stood firm, his gaze steady on the shadow. "It cannot touch her if I maintain the shield," he said. "I need you all to stay calm and out of its path." The entity moved closer, testing the protective devices. Its presence made the air cold, the lights flickered, and the Empress's aura wavered. Finn could feel her weakening slightly, though the devices were keeping her from full drain. He clenched his jaw, knowing that a direct confrontation was inevitable. He reached for a small energy amplifier, one he had prepared in secret. It was a human invention, simple but effective. With careful calculation, he activated it, creating a localized pulse of energy aimed at disrupting the entity's rhythm. The shadow writhed violently, trying to resist the interference. It lashed out at the nearest obstacle, but the energy shield protected the Empress completely. The council watched, eyes wide, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. The creature or force was something they could not calculate, something that ignored centuries of strategy and logic. Finn, a human, stood between the Empress and danger, unafraid, using perception and courage as his weapons. "Finn, it is adapting," Rena said, her voice steady despite the strain. "It is learning from us. You must act faster." Finn adjusted his amplifier and stepped forward. He spoke aloud as if to the entity itself. "You cannot drain her. You cannot feed on fear when I am here. You will not win." The shadow recoiled slightly, responding to his words in a way that no one else could have predicted. Finn realized that it responded to intent as much as to energy manipulation. His focus, his calm, and his determination were weakening it. He moved carefully, using every ounce of observation he had. The shadow tried to strike him directly, swarming in patterns meant to confuse and disorient. Finn dodged with human agility, small steps, precise movements. The devices pulsed in sequence, each one interrupting the entity's attempts. The Empress regained a small measure of strength, bolstered by the protective field and Finn's presence. The council was terrified but mesmerized. "How is a human doing this?" Vorn muttered. "All our calculations fail against him." Scylla could not hide her fear. "He isn't seeing things we cannot see. He feels things we cannot feel." Talek growled but said nothing. The truth was undeniable. Humans were underestimated in the galaxy. They lacked the technological or psychic abilities of other species, but their courage, empathy, and instinct gave them strength beyond measure. Finn now saw an opening. The shadow had overextended, trying to test both him and the Empress. He activated a final device, a small but concentrated pulse that disrupted the energy patterns completely. The shadow shrieked, a soundless sound that reverberated through the hall and recoiled violently. Finn stepped forward, using the amplifier in a controlled burst. The entity writhed and then collapsed into itself, losing form and power. The Empress's aura stabilized, her face regaining color. She looked at Finn with gratitude and awe. "You have done what no one else could see, Finn. You have saved me." Finn lowered the amplifier, his body tense but steady. "It was here, Your Majesty." It was patient and clever, but it could not overcome human courage. The advisors finally approached cautiously. They had watched the entire confrontation, unable to deny the truth. Vorn, usually composed and logical, spoke first. We misjudged. We underestimated humans. Sela nodded, her small form trembling. Your perception. Your instinct. It saved the Empress when we could not. Talik's tone was quieter than usual. We owe you more than we realized, human. Today our pride failed us. Your courage did not. Rena turned to the council, her voice firm. Let this be a lesson. Wisdom is not always measured in age or calculation. Today it was bravery, observation, and determination that protected the Empire. Finn remained by her side, his presence steady and calm. He did not speak much, but the message was clear. Humans could be underestimated, but they had strengths that no calculation, no centuries of experience could fully capture. The Empress looked around the hall, her gaze resting on each advisor. We will rebuild and learn from this, but let us never forget the value of courage and the strength of a single human mind when all else fails. The shadow was gone, dissolved into nothingness. The council no longer argued. They had witnessed something beyond their understanding. And Finn, the human guard who had seen what no one else could, remained vigilant, ready for the next challenge. Outside, the sun of Rylora rose again, bathing the colony in warm light. Peace had returned, but the lesson was clear. Even in an empire of advanced civilizations, human perception, bravery, and loyalty could make the difference between survival and disaster. And the Empress, with Finn by her side, was more prepared than ever to face the dangers that lurked in the vastness of space. The sun rose over the Rylora colony, casting a warm glow across the streets and domed buildings. After the confrontation with the invisible force, the colony was quiet, peaceful, and safe. The Empress, though still weary from the strain, moved through the council hall with steady steps. Finn remained at her side, vigilant and calm, his presence reassuring. For the first time in many cycles, the council felt their failure keenly. They had not only underestimated the danger, but also underestimated the value of human perception, courage, and loyalty. Rena turned to her advisors, her gaze firm yet patient. We faced a threat that no one could see, no one could calculate. It tested us all. Today we learned that wisdom comes not only from knowledge, but also from courage and awareness. Vorn, usually quick to speak with confidence, bowed his head slightly. Your Majesty, we have relied too heavily on analysis and protocol. We ignored subtle signs that a human, one we considered limited, could perceive. Finn's insight saved you. Sela nodded in agreement, her antennae trembling slightly. We doubted the humans. We doubted him. And it was our doubt that nearly cost us dearly. Talik, always blunt, spoke in his deep rumbling voice. We have learned humility. Today we witnessed courage and determination surpass centuries of experience. We will not forget it. Finn, standing quietly beside the Empress, gave a small nod. He did not boast. Humans were not known for grand displays of power, but their strength often lay in subtle persistence, observation, and unwavering courage. He had acted not out of desire for recognition, but out of loyalty to the Empress. Rena smiled gently at him, placing a hand on his shoulder. You have proven that humans are capable of great deeds. You saw what we could not. You acted when we froze. You are not only a guard, but a symbol of hope for our empire. Finn looked at her, his expression humble. I did what was necessary, Your Majesty. The threat was clever, but it underestimated the human spirit. The council remained silent, each member reflecting on their own shortcomings. For decades, they had trusted calculations, technology, and experience above all else. Yet they had learned a powerful lesson. Sometimes intuition, empathy, and courage were more valuable than all the knowledge in the galaxy. Outside the council hall, the citizens of Rylora began their day. They were unaware of the invisible danger that had lurked among them. Children laughed in the streets, workers tended their crops, and traders opened their shops. The colony thrived under the quiet protection of the Empress and her loyal guard. Finn knew that the greatest victories often went unnoticed. Today was one such victory. The Empress addressed the council again. Let this event remind us that every life matters. Every individual has potential that cannot always be measured. Humans have proven that even in a galaxy of advanced civilizations, courage and observation can change the course of events. Vorn bowed deeply. We will remember, Your Majesty. We will respect the unique strengths of every species, especially the humans. Sela added softly. We will support Finn and honor his actions. The Empire must learn to see beyond calculations. Talik's voice was firm but respectful. We have failed in the past, but today we begin anew. Humans are not to be underestimated. Their courage is as vital as any strategy or weapon. The Empress turned her attention to Finn once more. You have earned your place not only as my guard, but as a symbol for the entire Empire. Your courage has inspired us all. Your loyalty has protected us from disaster, and your perception has reminded us that even the most invisible dangers can be overcome by clarity and bravery. Finn lowered his head respectfully. I am honored, Your Majesty. I only did what I had to do. The Empire is safe, and that is enough. Rena smiled. It is more than enough. You have shown that one human can make a difference when others falter. This will be remembered, and your example will guide generations to come. The advisors, humbled and thoughtful, watched the interaction. They realized that the human they had often underestimated possessed qualities that could not be taught or measured. Finn's courage had been quiet, steady, and unwavering. He had faced an invisible enemy, one that preyed on fear and hesitation, and he had succeeded where all logic and experience had failed. Later, in the private chambers of the Empress, she spoke to Finn in a softer tone. You have changed my understanding of loyalty and strength. Not all power lies in knowledge or experience. Sometimes it lies in observation, patience, and the courage to act when no one else will. Finn nodded. I have learned as much from you, Your Majesty. Your trust allowed me to see clearly and act decisively. Together we were able to protect the Empire. Rena smiled faintly, her strength returning. Yes, together. That is what makes the Empire strong. It is not the technology, not the experience, but the hearts and minds of those who serve it, no matter their species or size. Today, humans have shown their value, and I will make sure the galaxy knows it. The next weeks were filled with reflection and planning. The advisors worked to strengthen their understanding, not just of technology and strategy, but of human intuition. They studied Finn's actions, the choices he made, and the subtle ways he perceived danger. Slowly, they came to respect not only him, but the potential of humans throughout the Empire. The citizens of Rylora, unaware of the near disaster that had been averted, continued their daily lives. Yet the Empress ensured that Finn's actions were recognized formally. A ceremony was held in the palace courtyard, attended by representatives from all species of the Empire. Rena spoke before the gathering, her voice echoing across the hall. Today, we honor a human who saved the Empire, not with power or technology, but with courage, loyalty, and perception. Finn has reminded us that every being has the potential to change the course of history. Let his actions inspire us to see beyond our calculations, to trust in instinct, and to act with courage when it is needed most. Applause rang out, and Finn bowed humbly. He was uncomfortable with attention, but he understood its purpose. This was not about pride. This was about demonstrating that humans were capable of extraordinary deeds. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and a force invisible to all others. And he had prevailed. The advisors, standing behind the Empress, nodded in agreement. Their fear and doubt had been replaced with respect and humility. They now understood that intelligence alone was not enough to protect the Empire. Courage, intuition, and loyalty were equally important, and humans possessed these qualities in abundance. Rena turned to Finn, her eyes reflecting pride and gratitude. You will continue as my guard, Finn, but more than that, you will serve as an example to the Empire. Your actions will remind every species that courage and perception are forces that cannot be ignored. Finn simply nodded, understanding the responsibility he now carried. He had never sought glory or recognition, but he had earned both. The invisible enemy had been defeated, and the Empress had survived. The Empire was safe, and the lesson had been clear. Underestimate humans at your peril. In the days that followed, the Council restructured their approach to leadership. They incorporated human insight, intuition, and perspective into their decision-making. The advisors who had once doubted Finn now sought his counsel in subtle ways, learning from his perception and patience. Humans were no longer viewed as simple guards or minor contributors. They were valued, respected, and recognized for the qualities that could not be measured by machines or calculations. The Empress, fully recovered, resumed her duties with renewed vigor. She traveled across the Empire, visiting colonies and systems accompanied by Finn. The bond between them was strong, built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. Together they faced challenges both seen and unseen, with the knowledge that courage and loyalty could overcome even the most invisible threats. And in the quiet moments, when the stars stretched endlessly across the sky, Finn would stand vigil beside the Empress, ready to act, ready to protect. The Empire had learned a valuable lesson. Strength was not only in power or wisdom, but in the courage to see clearly, act decisively, and never underestimate the human spirit. The invisible force had been defeated, the Council humbled, and the Empress safe. The galaxy would remember the bravery of one human guard who had seen what others could not, who had acted when others faltered, and who had ensured that the Empire endured. Finn's story became legend, a testament to the potential of humans and the power of courage, loyalty, and unwavering perception. The Lorien Empire, vast and diverse, had been changed forever. Its people had witnessed the strength of a human, and they would carry that knowledge forward for generations. And Finn, standing quietly beside the Empress, knew that he had fulfilled his duty. He had protected the one he swore to serve, and in doing so, had shown the galaxy the true meaning of heroism. The stars shone brighter that night over Rylora, as if recognizing the triumph of courage, loyalty, and human spirit. Peace returned to the colony, to the Empire, and to the Empress. And the human guard, steadfast and vigilant, remained ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might present next.